Honorable members, guests, welcome to the Legislative Assembly of Alberta, the People's House. Let us pray. We give thanks to God for the precious gifts of freedom and peace which we enjoy as Canadians and Albertans. We give thanks for the rich heritage of this province as found in our people and our land. On this special occasion, we pray for Her Majesty, the Queen, and we ask God to bless the office of the Lieutenant Governor of Alberta and those who have served and will serve in their responsibilities. Amen.
Lieutenant Governor Designate, Honourable Premier, Honourable Chief Justice, Representative of the Government of Canada, members of the Legislative Assembly, and distinguished guests. My name is Ray Gilmore, and I am the Clerk of the Executive Council, and I will be your MC for this afternoon's ceremony. I would like to welcome you here today for the installation of Alberta's 19th Lieutenant Governor. In her instructions to the Lieutenant Governor of the Province of Alberta, Her Excellency, the Right Honourable Julie Payette, Governor-General and Commander-in-Chief in Canada, declares that the Lieutenant Governor shall with all due solemnity cause the Royal Commission under the Great Seal of Canada appointing Selma Lacani, Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, to be read and published in the presence of the Chief Justice of Alberta and of the members of the Executive Council of the province. Her Excellency further declares that the Lieutenant Governor shall take the oath of allegiance in the form provided by the Constitution Act 1867, and likewise that she takes the usual oath for the due execution of the office of Lieutenant Governor, which oaths the Chief Justice of the province shall and is required to tender or administer under her. Mrs. Lacani, is it your pleasure to have your commission read and published at this time in the presence of the Chief Justice of Alberta and members of the Executive Council of Alberta?
It is my pleasure.
I invite Ms. Julie Adair, Assistant Clerk of the Privy Council, to present the Royal Commission and instructions of appointment to Mr. Brian Roach, Private Secretary to the Lieutenant Governor.
Elizabeth II, by the grace of God of the United Kingdom, Canada, and her other realms and territories, Queen, Head of the Commonwealth, Defender of the Faith. To Salma Lakhani of the City of Edmonton in the province of Alberta, greetings. Be advised that, placing special trust and confidence in your prudence, courage, loyalty, integrity, and ability, we, by and with the advice of our Privy Council for Canada, pursuant to Sections 58 and 59 of the Constitution Act 1867, do hereby appoint you, Salma Lakhani, Lieutenant Governor of the Province of Alberta, during the pleasure of our Governor-General of Canada, effective on the day on which you make and subscribe the oaths of allegiance and office required by Section 61 of the Constitution Act 1867. And we do hereby direct you to carry out your duties in accordance with the powers granted to you by the Constitution Act 1867 and any other statutes, our present commission and the annexed instructions, or instructions that may from time to time be given to you by our Governor-General of Canada or by our Privy Council for Canada, and in accordance with such laws as are in force in the province of Alberta. And we do hereby direct that as soon as you have made and subscribed the oaths, our present commission supersedes our commission issued under the Great Seal of Canada on June 8th, 2015, appointing the Honourable Lois Mitchell to be Lieutenant Governor of the province of Alberta. In testimony whereof, we have caused these our letters to be made patent and the Great Seal of Canada to be hereunto affixed. Witness our right trustee and well-beloved Julie Payette, Chancellor and Principal Companion of our Order of Canada, Chancellor and Commander of our Order of Military Merit, Chancellor and Commander of our Order of Merit of the Police Forces, Governor-General and Commander-in-Chief of Canada. At our Government House in our City of Ottawa, this 18th day of August, in the year of our Lord, 2020, in the 69th year of our reign. By command, Registrar General of Canada.
Madam, is it your pleasure to take the oaths of allegiance and office?
My pleasure.
The Honourable Catherine Fraser, Chief Justice of Alberta, has been requested and authorized to administer the oath of allegiance and the oath of office to Mrs. Lakhani. Chief Justice.
Hand on the Quran. And Mrs. Lakhani, please read the oath of allegiance to Her Majesty the Queen.
I, Salma Lakhani, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada, her heirs and successors. So help me God.
Et maintenant, en français.
Moi, Salma Lakhani, je jure fidélité et sincère allégeance à Sa Majesté la Reine Elizabeth II, Reine du Canada, à ses héritiers et successeurs. Ainsi Dieu me soit en aide.
Mrs. Lakhani, please read the oath of office of Lieutenant Governor.
I, Salma Lakhani, shall well and truly execute the office and trust of Lieutenant Governor of the Province of Alberta and duly and impartially administer justice therein. I shall well and truly execute the office and trust of Keeper of the Great Seal of Her Majesty's Province of Alberta according to the best of my knowledge and ability. So help me God.
Et maintenant, en français.
Moi, Salma Lakhani, je remplirai bien et fidèlement la charge et le mandat de lieutenant-gouverneur de la province d'Alberta et j'y administrerai la justice avec exactitude et impartialité. Je remplirai bien et fidèlement la charge de la gardienne du grand sceau de la province d'Alberta, domaine de Sa Majesté, au meilleur de ma connaissance et de mon habileté. Ainsi Dieu me soit en aide.
Thank you. Please be seated. And congratulations on your historic appointment as the first person of Muslim heritage to be appointed to this office in Canada.
Congratulations, Your Honor. Your Honor.
I invite the Honourable Casey Madu, Provincial Secretary of Alberta, to step forward and present the Great Seal of Alberta.
Your Honor, beside you is the Great Seal of the Province of Alberta. Is it your pleasure to commit it now to the safe custody of the Provincial Secretary?
To your safe custody, I commit the Great Seal of the Province of Alberta.
The Honourable Catherine Fraser, Chief Justice of the Province of Alberta, will present Her Honour, the Lieutenant Governor, with the Alberta Order of Excellence.
The Alberta Order of Excellence is the highest honor the province can bestow on a citizen. The object of the order is to accord recognition to those persons who have rendered service of the greatest distinction and of singular excellence for or on behalf of the residents of Alberta. It is my honor, on behalf of the Alberta Order of Excellence Council, to name the Honourable Salma Lakhani as a member of the Alberta Order of Excellence and the Chancellor of the Alberta Order of Excellence. And Your Honor, your beautiful not sure what one would call it, but this pendant is here awaiting you once we all are able to avoid the problems with COVID-19. Thank you.
I now invite Mr. Alain Laurencel, Chancellor, Knight of the Order of St. John, representative of the Most Venerable Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, Priory of Canada, to install Her Honor with the appointment of Vice Prior of the St. John Council for Alberta.
Your Honor, you have been permitted by Her Majesty, the Sovereign Head of our Order, to the rank of Dame of Justice. Permit me, on behalf of all the members of the Order of St. John, to thank you for accepting the appointment of Vice Prior of the St. John Council for Alberta. It is my privilege today to receive you into the Most Venerable Order in accordance with our traditions. Your Honor, having promised to respect the governing authorities of the Grand Council of the Most Venerable Order, Your Honor, having promised to contribute to the Order, oppose all that is detrimental to the Order, and to devote yourself to the objects and purposes of the Order, by virtue of the powers vested in me, I am to invest you now as a Dame of Justice of the Most Venerable Order. I welcome you as a Dame of Justice in this Most Venerable Order. Madam, I will now invest you as the Vice Prior of the Order for Alberta. Private Secretary, please read the warrant.
Her Excellency, the Right Honourable Julie Payette, Governor-General of Canada and Prior of the Priory of Canada of the Most Venerable Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem. To Her Honour, the Honourable Selma Lakhani. Whereas, with the approval of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada, Sovereign Head of the Most Venerable Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, we have been pleased to appoint you a Dame in the said order, and we do by these presents appoint you to be Vice Prior for St. John Council for Alberta, and authorize you to hold and enjoy the dignity of such appointment, together with the membership in the said order, and all privileges thereunto appertaining. Given at Rideau Hall in the City of Ottawa, under the seal of the Priory of Canada of the Most Venerable Order of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, this 6th day of July in the year 2020, in the 69th year of Her Majesty's reign.
Your Honor, the insignia bearing your rights and your privileges in the Order are on the Honour table. Your Honor, you pay tribute to the Most Venerable Order in accepting to be the Vice Prior of the St. John Council for Alberta. In this capacity, you commit yourself to the promotion of the Order of St. John, its mottos, pro fide, for the faith, and pro utilitate hominum, in the service of humanity, and to the support of the mission of St. John Ambulance in Canada, which is to enable Canadians from coast to coast to coast to improve their health, safety, and quality of life by providing training and community service. Thank you.
I invite the Honourable Daniel Vandal, PC, Minister of Northern Affairs and Member of Parliament for St. Boniface, St. Vital, to bring remarks on behalf of the Government of Canada.
Your Honor, Premier, Chief Justice, Mr. Speaker, members of the Executive Council, members of the Legislative Assembly, Indigenous leaders, distinguished guests, good afternoon. Bon après-midi. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are situated today on Treaty 6 territory, traditional lands of First Nations, as well as the Métis Nation. It's my privilege to be here on behalf of the Prime Minister and the Government of Canada for the installation ceremony of the new Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, Her Honor, the Honourable Selma Lakanni. Today we welcome Ms. Lakanni as the 19th Lieutenant Governor of Alberta on the eve of the province's 115th anniversary of joining Confederation. We're also thanking the outgoing Lieutenant Governor, the Honourable Lois Mitchell, for her work in history and education and her dedicated service to people, communities, and organizations across Alberta since taking office in 2015. To be appointed Lieutenant Governor is a great honor and speaks to the trust and respect you have earned from fellow Albertans in the decades since you made this province, your home. Your Honor, the people of Alberta, from its southern prairies to its northern forests, are counting on you to represent them. They are also counting on you to represent this great province in all of its diversity and its richness of opportunity. Je sais que vos nombreuses réalisations et votre vaste expérience vous aidera à assumer avec brio les fonctions de représentante de la Majesté, la Reine du Canada. Et je ne doute pas que vous continuerez d'être une source d'inspiration pour tous les Canadiens. Je crois fermement en l'importance de redonner à sa communauté et j'admire grandement le dévouement dont vous avez fait preuve à l'égard de la vôtre. Vous avez aidé innombrables Albertains et Canadiens dans le cadre des efforts que vous avez déployés pour soutenir les nouveaux immigrants et pour faire progresser l'éducation, les soins de santé, l'autonomisation des femmes et les droits de la personne. From mentoring young students with English as a second language to founding a movement that helps vulnerable women access education, you have seen firsthand the challenges faced by the people and communities in this province. As Lieutenant Governor, you will build on this lifetime of service while continuing to engage with Albertans. Whether virtually or in person, you will meet with them, you will learn from them, and recognize those who work selflessly, as you did, to make their communities and provinces the best they can be. As the Crown's representative, you will also have many formal duties, standing as a true symbol and testament to the strength of our traditions. And as the first Muslim Lieutenant Governor in Canadian history, you will also stand as a true symbol and testament to this country's diversity and pluralism. Les Albertains peuvent être fiers du fait que leur lieutenant-gouverneur est une grande championne de l'équité, de l'égalité et de l'inclusion. You take on this new role at a time of unprecedented challenges for the people of the province, of this province, and the people of Canada as we fight a global pandemic. I know that your deep empathy and lifelong commitment to helping people in need will be of great comfort and invaluable service now more than ever. On behalf of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the Government of Canada, I wish you every success as Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, and I am confident that you will distinguish yourself in this new role as you have in all of your endeavors. Thank you very much. Miigwech. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Minister Vandell. I invite the Honourable Jason Kenney, Premier of Alberta, to bring remarks.
Your Honours, Madam Chief Justice, Mr. Speaker, Honourable Ministers and members of the Legislative Assembly, Justices of the Court of Appeal, the Court of Queen's Bench, and the Provincial Court, Your Excellencies, Consuls General and members of the Diplomatic Corps, Your Worships, Elder Saddleback, Chiefs and Indigenous leaders, distinguished guests, and fellow Albertans. Welcome to Alberta's legislature, to this installation of our province's 19th Lieutenant Governor, an important moment in the life of Alberta. Our laws and ancient liberties are the endowment of our Westminster parliamentary democracy, safeguarded by our constitutional monarchy. The personification of that constitutional monarchy in Alberta is now Her Honour, the Lieutenant Governor, the Honourable Salma Lakhani. Unlike republics that hold their allegiance to abstract principles and documents, in our system of government, allegiance is towards a living person who represents and is the guardian of our values and our institutions. That was the meaning of the loyal oath to Her Majesty the Queen taken by Her Honour moments ago. In that way, our traditions reflect those of the First Nations, the people who first inhabited these lands, and whose allegiance was to hereditary chiefs. Those same Indigenous people of the Plains referred to Her Majesty's ancestor, Queen Victoria, as the Great Mother. And it is the same principle recognized by Your Honour's own Ismaili community in the institution of the imamate and in the person of His Highness Prince Karim the Aga Khan. So by installing Her Honour as the representative of Her Majesty the Queen, we are expressing our abiding trust in the institutions and traditions that have sustained and nurtured our way of life for so long. And we are honoring the wisdom of generations past. One of the reasons that those institutions remain strong and vital is because of our pluralism. You need not belong to a particular faith, ethnicity, class, or group to enjoy the advantages and opportunities that these institutions confer. They are rooted in our tradition of unity and diversity, and in the principle of the equality of all before the law. And let me say, what a wonderful symbol it is to have the first Canadian Viceroy coming from the Ismaili community, which has done so much to be a global leader in a vision of pluralism, of unity and in diversity. Her Honour's story is a brilliant example of this truth. Born in Uganda as a member of the country's Ismaili Muslim minority, the existence of her family and their entire community was thrown into chaos by the brutal and racist dictatorship of Idi Amin. In 1972, he infamously expelled the country's Asian population and confiscated all of their property. Her Honour was left a stateless student in England. With support from the government of the United Kingdom and her future husband, His Honour Dr. Zahir Lakhani, she finished her education, and in 1977, the newlyweds happily arrived in Edmonton. And Doctor, and Your Honour, let me say thank you for choosing Edmonton. Thank you for choosing Alberta. Ever since, Her Honour has been a voice for the vulnerable and the dispossessed, for justice, for human dignity, and for the transformative power of education. She has poured her talents and energy into a tremendous range of community organizations, including, just to name a few, Norquest College, Kids Cottage, and the Alberta Cancer Board, showing the power of civil society to prevent and heal social challenges. Her honor has won countless friends and admirers thanks to her warmth, her humility, and her compassion. She is a true community leader, someone who cares much more about results than who gets the credit. Alberta is now truly fortunate to have as its vice-regal representative, Her Honor, the Honourable Selma Lakhani. Our system of government is in good hands, as it has been for generations. Your Honor, as Her Majesty's First Minister in Alberta, I assure you that your Executive Council is delighted by your appointment, and we look forward to working with you on behalf of the people of Alberta during a time of extraordinary challenge and adversity, during which we must all focus relentlessly on protecting both the lives and livelihoods of Albertans during and following this pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, we have in Her Honor a sterling example of commitment to public service. She is the kind of person who built this province, generous to a fault, fiercely engaged in the world around them, and deeply drawn to change it for the better. We can ask no more of our Lieutenant Governor. Indeed, her ethic of service and that of her wonderful predecessor, the Honourable Lois Mitchell, is a reflection of the sovereign who they represent. On the occasion of her 21st birthday, then Princess Elizabeth, shortly before assuming the throne, famously said the following in a radio broadcast to the nations of the Commonwealth, quotes, "I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong." At 94 years of age, and in the 68th year of her reign, she has stayed true to that pledge and to her people. I am grateful to Her Honor and the Honourable Lois Mitchell for their devotion to Alberta and their efforts on its behalf, past, present, and future. And so, from all Albertans, thank you, Your Honor. Vive le Canada, que Dieu sauve la reine, God bless Alberta, and may God save the Queen.
Thank you, Premier. The Honourable Selma Lakhani, Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, will deliver her address. Your Honour.
Thank you. Premier Kenny, Chief Justice Fraser, Mr. Speaker, Honourable Ministerial colleagues, Honourable Daniel Vandal, Minister of Northern Affairs, members of the Legislative Assembly, British Consul General Carolyn Saunders, Elder Jerry Saddleback and Indigenous leaders, members of the Judiciary, Mr. Alain Laurencel, Chancellor of the Order of St. John, distinguished guests, my fellow Albertans, friends, and my dear family. I regret that most of my close family members are unable to be here today, but hopefully are able to watch on the live link. I wish to begin by respectfully acknowledging that we are meeting on Treaty 6 territory and a traditional meeting ground and home for many Indigenous people. We pay our respect to the First Nation and Métis ancestors of this place and reaffirm our relationship with them. I thank Elder Jerry Saddleback for welcoming me and for blessings as I begin this extraordinary journey, and I also thank Rocky Morin for the honor song he will be so generously offering later today. C'est un grand honneur pour moi de m'adresser à vous aujourd'hui en tant que représentante de l'Alberta de Sa Majesté la Reine Elisabeth II. I am both honored and humbled to be addressing all of you today. I would like to begin by telling you a little about myself and by sharing how so much of my life has been shaped by a sense of hope. I grew up in a house full of family in Kampala, Uganda, a beautiful place on the other side of the world. Indeed, there was a time when there were 15 of us living together under the same roof. Extended family and nuclear family were blended together. We didn't know the difference. We lived, we played, and we prayed together. We were simply family, and family was always close in every sense of the word. My father was a larger-than-life man and a spirited and industrious entrepreneur. My mother was resilient. She was only 3 when her own mother passed away, and as a child, she often went to school without shoes and would complete her homework by candlelight long after everyone was asleep. Our Ismaili Muslim family was rooted in love and an unyielding set of values. The value that everyone deserved an equal opportunity in life and that serving community was essential. The unshakable belief that if in this life there was indeed a golden ticket, it was education. My parents ensured that my 2 brothers and I studied hard over the years. My father made efforts to get to know our teachers and took the keenest interest in our academic progress, ensuring that we were being supported as best as we could be. I began my university studies in England in the fall of 1971. The following year, I returned to Kampala to visit my parents for the summer holidays. On a lovely tropical evening, we were enjoying a family get-together when we heard the then Ugandan President Idi Amin delivering his radio broadcast that was to forever alter the trajectory of our lives. 90 days later, almost every single South Asian had been expelled from Uganda. We were no longer welcome in the only place we had ever known as home. In a matter of days, thousands of families lost livelihoods that had taken entire generations to build. My extremely worried parents put me back on the first available flight out to England while I was still able to use my Ugandan passport to travel. Even so, I was now a stateless ex-Ugandan. I did not know where my tuition fees or living expenses would come from, as my family had lost everything. The British government was exceedingly kind and waived the fees of many of us in this situation, allowing us to complete our studies. My now husband Zahir, who also grew up in Kampala, was in the same situation, and he too was a beneficiary of this generosity. 3 years later, while the both of us still remained stateless and with little in the way of material means, what we did have was our education and hearts full of hope. In June of 1977, as newlyweds, and with British government-issued travel documents instead of passports, my husband and I journeyed across the ocean to Edmonton, where he had been offered an opportunity to pursue his postgraduate medical training. We landed in Edmonton at midnight, exhausted and alone. There were few streetlights and far fewer people than where we had just come from. What we promised ourselves would be no more than 2 years in Alberta has turned into a 43-year stay in a province we have grown to love deeply and are so grateful to call home. Every long and cold winter, we remind ourselves that we are not here for the weather, but we are here for everything else. I am incredibly proud to call myself a Canadian because Canada is the only place in the world where I am not required to be a person with only a single identity or a single story. I am the product of all of my chapters, an ex-Ugandan, Canadian Ismaili Muslim of South Asian descent who came here with no country to call home. Mine is the story of a person whose presence before you in this capacity today is made possible, even probable, by a single fact, that it happened in Canada, a place where the realization of unlikely stories occurs not by accident, but by design. While my story may sound unique, it is also the story of Alberta, a place where individual stories are woven into our collective tapestry, a province whose narrative is defined by the generations of stories of hope. Nellie McClung, who championed women's suffrage, and Dr. Thelma Shalifu, the first Indigenous woman to be appointed to the Canadian Senate, are but two among so many amazing people who have contributed to making us the province and the country that we are today. And in that illustrious group, I would include the 18 extraordinary Albertans who have preceded me as lieutenant governors for the province of Alberta, from the Honorable George Hedley Vickers Bulea, our very first lieutenant governor, who assumed this office in 1905, all the way to my immediate predecessor. Every one of them has left their distinctive stamp enhancing our Alberta story. Our province has much to be grateful for to the Honorable Lois Mitchell for her many years of dedicated service and her contributions in so many areas of human endeavor. The initiatives that she has so thoughtfully championed, and which I sincerely hope she will continue to remain engaged with, will benefit Albertans for decades to come. On a personal note, I want to thank her for her warm friendship and the wise counsel that she has so graciously extended to me during the transition period. I realize I have very big shoes to fill. I am also deeply mindful that I am assuming this role during what is undoubtedly a very difficult and unique time. We are individually and collectively dealing with the devastation that COVID-19 has inflicted on us as individuals and as communities in many different ways. So many of us are dealing with financial uncertainty, anxious over what the future holds. Others of us have had to deal with the pain of distancing ourselves from those near and dear to us. A number of us have also suffered the loss of loved ones to COVID, and to them I express deepest sympathies and prayers for courage. But despite these significant challenges, if this cloud should have any silver lining, it has taught us that in relying on the tight bonds of community, like a large and resilient family, we can weather the most difficult of storms. From the kindness of restaurant owners delivering food to those in need, to the sacrifice of our frontline workers risking their health for the well-being of our communities, from Fort Vermilion to Fort Macleod, we have seen the depths of care that exist within our communities and the capacity for that care to sustain us all. This challenging time has reminded us of our collective strength, and we will need that resolve going forward. These events have also reminded us poignantly that the richness of this province, and indeed this country, lies in its diversity, from our Indigenous sisters and brothers to those who have come here from distant shores seeking better lives. As Maya Angelou so beautifully put it, diversity makes for a rich tapestry, and we must understand that all the threads of the tapestry are equal in value. As a Muslim Canadian, I share my faith with 1.5 billion others across the globe. As many of you will know, this part of Canada has been home to Muslims since the late 1800s, when immigrants from what is now Lebanon, Syria, and surrounding areas settled here. It says a lot about our province that the very first mosque in all of North America was built right here in Edmonton some 80 years ago, close to today's Royal Alexandra Hospital. Historical accounts about this first mosque speak to the generosity and the coming together of Albertans of all different faiths who worked with their fellow Muslim Albertans to bring this building to life, reminding us that wanting for one another what we want for ourselves serves to enrich us all. I am constantly reminded of and grateful for the values of pluralism, inclusion, and care that continue to guide our province and country. Every time we proudly sing our national anthem and promise Canada to stand on guard for thee, we should reflect on the fundamental principles of this great nation that are enshrined in our Charter and Constitution. It is these very values we are promising to stand on guard for, and in that context, let us always remain vigilant and call attention when we see these values being undermined. My own voluntary efforts, which have largely been at the grassroots over the past many years, have been deeply influenced by my own life journey and my lasting gratitude to those who reached out to me in my own desperate time of need. I have been passionate about women's health, education relating to human rights, and in particular, making higher learning accessible to newcomers and others who have been marginalized by life's unpredictable challenges. Helping those in need take that first step up the ladder to better opportunities is one way of making a lasting difference in the lives of so many. It ensures that these individuals become even more productive members of the community, much better able to provide for their entire families going forward. I have gained so much, not only because of the substance of the work I have been involved with, but because of the remarkable, resilient, and inspiring individuals I have been privileged to meet along the way. Many have been through far more horrific experiences than the one my family had to endure, but all of them echo the sentiment about the generosity and spirit of care that guide this province and country. I am repeatedly reminded of the commitment of fellow Albertans who give so generously of their resources, of their time, and of their intellect, be it around boardroom tables, in the community, or through simple everyday acts of care and kindness that raise our collective spirits and our sense of hope. Coming as I do from Uganda, let me share with you an African expression that is worth remembering. It is the term Ubuntu, which very simply translated means, I am because we are. It speaks to the ties that bind us as a community and reminds us that our futures and our successes are closely intertwined. We have much to be proud of, but our striving for justice and equity does not end here. We must continue to work together to make this province the best it can be, to ensure that all Albertans are able to achieve their full potential and feel a sense of belonging and promise, regardless of means or ability, regardless of gender identity or sexual orientation, regardless of race or religion. Let us commit to uphold the values of a province that carries everyone forward. As an urban dweller, there is so much I have to learn about the communities that make up our province and contribute to its successes, including in particular our rural citizens. As well, during my 4 decades in Alberta, I have come to share the greatest respect for our women and men in uniform, from our first responders to members of the military, putting their own lives at risk as they selflessly serve to protect us all. I hope to meet with many of them in the months and years to come, and to hear of their aspirations, thoughts, and stories. I also sincerely believe that there is a need for many of us to better educate ourselves about the rich history of our Indigenous communities in order to better understand our present and collective futures. The lessons of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, with recommendations published 5 years ago, remind all of us of the work that still needs to be done. In my time in office, I look forward to many opportunities to connect with the diversity of people that make us the Alberta that we are today. As your 19th Lieutenant Governor, I want to share that on this most significant and important occasion, steeped in tradition and deeply linked to the history of our province and our country, I promise my fellow Albertans that I will do my best to fulfill my responsibilities and the trust that has been placed in me. I have spent many days reflecting on the immense significance and incredible privilege of being appointed as Her Majesty's representative in this great province, almost 50 years after the British government graciously allowed us to complete an education that brought us here to this remarkable country and extraordinary province, which opened its arms and became a home to a young couple who arrived in the middle of the night from a world away, unsure of what the future would bring. It has been many lifetimes since I lived in Kampala with a family of 15. But what I learned then and what I will carry with me every day is the enduring belief that we are all part of a bigger story, that we are all bound together in our successes and our setbacks, our trials and our triumphs, and that the measure of any society rests in its commitment to lifting up even its most vulnerable in recognition of our shared responsibility to one another and this place we call home. It is my hope that as we begin this journey together, our generations and those that follow will always strive to realize the very best of what our province can be. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. God bless Alberta. God bless Canada, and God save the Queen.